Yeah.
So, are you worried that I do? All right. Ta-da.
Good morning.
Good morning. Ooh, there's a pull on there.
Ooh.
Hey, welcome to the Sun Dragon Sideshow.
The Adventures of Liz and Rebecca.
My cardigan back there, my Fading Diamonds cardigan, has some yarns that have been pulled and weirdness, and that's life. Nothing stays perfect. Hello. Switching gears here.
Sorry.
What?
I forgot to do my job. And
What? This was already out front. I'm just being micromanaging and saying, it's not in the middle. Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in sunny and warming up today, Brevard, North Carolina.
I'm Liz. I'm the minion there.
Look at the wall behind us.
It's so sad.
So the gaps in the wall are like, we've been using the Patagonia for kits for the Pressed Flowers make-along. And then people have just been buying it anyway for other purposes, potentially. And that's what it looks like right now. Like, there's a few colors that it's just sad. We still have plenty of it up there.
Oh, yeah.
Just
We're just out of, like...
Oh, my gosh, it's so sad. I keep making kits and then saying, okay, we have enough. And then people buy them, which, thank you, lovely. Don't have enough to make more. So, yeah, it's a good problem to have, supposedly. But I don't have the money to buy more right now either, so... Because there's other bills than just replenishing the yarn that need to get paid at a yarn shop. So,
Yeah.
And that's me on that. Okay, so. Hi. It's Tuesday. We're getting back in the swing of things. I'm a little tired because we went to Pearl's on Sunday. We did a road trip so that we could get prizes for the yarn crawl, which is coming up. It's an in-person event coming up the week leading up to Mother's Day, so it's May 9th through 13th this year. So that was an extra thing to do this weekend, so I'm a little off base today. So
we did that on Sunday, and then on Monday I was like, I don't want to go grocery shopping during the week after work, so we'll go do it now. And so that threw my Monday off.
And I'm going grocery shopping today after work before knit night. That is going to throw my week off, but that threw your Monday off. So yeah. I have my last 2 sodas in the fridge right now, so I have to go to the grocery store. Anyway, so is that your second hat?
This is my second hat
Because someone else wanted a hat?
Well, so my niece...
You see what happened with us.
My niece stole my brother-in-law's hat. And then the dogs got a hold of it. And she feels so bad. And so my sister was like, no problem. I know who made the hat. She'll make you another one. And she was like, can you make her another one? And I'm like, of course. So I finished that one Sunday night.
Is that the slouchy one, or that's the not slouchy?
It's a half an inch more slouchy than she wanted, just a little bit extra. So anyway, this is the first hat.
Wait.
This is for Nene.
Okay, I was gonna say, but she's the one who stole the hat from the other person?
From her dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I just didn't want to get genders wrong because I know the story, but I don't know the story.
So I'm making his hat now, and in amongst all the craziness of this weekend, he was like, I don't need a hat, but if you do, leave a hole for my ponytail. And I was like, oh, I can do that. So,
are you going to do the messy bun with a hole in the very top, so he has to have like a top knot coming out?
I think he has a top knot, so...
Oh, so that's perfect.
Yeah.
So that's a messy bun hat,
I'm going to do the exact same hat and just leave
messy bun like this.
Leave a hole in the top, and he can figure it out. So
I still remember the person who came in and wanted advice on how to make one for pigtails. And that was like, because the easiest thing is at the top of the hat, you don't finish it off. You leave some ribbing up there for something to pull through, but that's one in the center, right? Yeah. Maybe in the back if you shift your head. You know, if you have it like this, it's not quite up here, it's back here.
Yeah.
But for pigtails, that's a like bind off, bind back on, like making holes down here, and
that's more than...
I think they did it, but
yeah,
it's not what I would want to do.
So
this is your second in a row on teeny tiny needles for you.
Teeny needles. Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah. It took just over a week, like an evening over a week. So, and then I cut out the last 2 of my dresses for the yarn crawl. I now have like 5. Yes, I have 5. I'm sitting there counting in my head going, wait. Finished cutting those out. Thought about starting them last night, but the moment passed and I didn't. And so I started the hat last night, and then I've been working on my colorful
Those
threads,
are super cute.
For my hair.
She was working on them in the car, and I couldn't look because I was driving. And
this is the one I was working on.
Okay, that looks different. The other one looks different. Okay.
So this is a Romanian like I-cord, and it's actually kind of fun.
How'd you do that one?
This one is almost exactly like doing a chain, but you pick up the loop that you did last, and then pull through. So it
makes a really funky looking like braid.
Yeah. It was I think it was like a macrame, or it was some thing on Pinterest that I saw, and I was like, huh. And it looks super cool in The Mountains Are Calling. Like,
that's not The Mountains Are Calling.
Or not, it's Fall in Brevard, sorry.
I'm just being clear.
No, I know, because this one is The Mountains Are Calling.
So it also looks cool in The Mountains Are Calling.
It does.
And just, yeah. And we have more of The Mountains Are Calling. You're doing it on DK, right?
Yep.
And White Squirrel Shuffle. And when she dyed Brevard in fall this time around, it came out a little different. So we might be calling it Brevard in summer.
Yeah.
So we'll show y'all when it comes in. And I didn't order as much DK as fingering. I ordered a ton more fingering than DK. And we're out of like everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, except for some Brevard and fall.
I look around the shop.
The shop's been ravaged, I feel like.
Well, not only has it been ravaged by Vikings, because yes, we had Vikings. Thank you guys for taking advantage of my birthday discount. But also, I've DX'd quite a bit of yarn. So, like...
You can see it on camera. It's down there. The boxes, surprise me, Sylvan support boxes. See them down there?
There
we did this
many.
last time. We just overhaul of the sale yarn or yarn that we want to put in the sale bin. Sometimes we just jump over that and take them straight to surprise me sale bin support boxes, which are 50% off regular retail price if you buy the whole box. And so we have a ton, and part of what makes it a surprise, especially for those of you who are not local, is we can't put pictures up and say this is what's in this box and this is what's in that box. It's a surprise. And it's, if you buy one of these boxes online, you can make requests, but if we have a box that doesn't fit your request, but it fits your value, and we don't have a way to pull together another box for you, you might be getting something completely random.
By the time the yarn crawl happens, I have generally whittled down the sale bins under the pretty wall
to almost nothing.
To
scraps that are left over that wouldn't fill a box.
It's like, there might be a ball of this. There might be two balls of that.
And before the crawl, she starts her prep, everything under the base of the pretty wall are boxes that are just a free-for-all, grab it, it's 20% off, it's stuff we're moving out. But it all gets packaged up. And so it's a nice turnover profit for us. It gets stuff out of the shop that's just sitting here, and you make out mad on that too because you save a lot of money. So,
they're fun. And like some people are like, it's $60 for a box. The $60 boxes have enough to do like a sweater.
Often. It depends on the yarn.
It depends on the yarn and
but it's $120.
How big a sweater that
regular retail price, it's $120 worth of yarn. You're getting it for $60.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. So, all kinds of fun stuff going on. But so you are, to turn back to this, you are making hair?
Yeah, I'm making my so my yarn crawl hair is going to be black felted wool. And then I wanted our shot colors from Yarn Baby to be my little pops. And so I'll have the 3 of them amongst all the black felted. So.
Okay. That's when someone walked by, so we both got distracted. I'm pretty sure I locked the door when I came back in.
And I was in before you. Yes.
So you're going to have black felted hair, and then these are going to be your pops. Okay. I'm catching myself up because my brain kind of heard but didn't process. So that'll be cool. Yeah. You're not doing just this for your entire head.
No.
Because that would be tough. And also, this is super wash. So.
It's super wash. It's not going to felt down. Yeah. And when my hair is wet, they'll be 6 inches longer than the rest of my hair. Because it
grows and then shrinks back up.
And then it pops back up.
That's what we can talk about with this thing, too, when I put it on.
Kind of fun. But I have a whole collection of dresses. Like this last year was for, I think, our anniversary month. I went all out with dragon dresses. And,
you've got multiple layers of different colors of dragons.
Yes. I have this is my shot colors dress. So I have the red dragons and gold. And then there's blue dragons for our shop bags. And so for the yarn crawl, since it's the mountains are calling, I found a whole series of mountain fabric batiks that
and that's really cool. I can't wait to see that stuff. That's going to be neat. And we're going to try to make mini skeins out of some of our classic yarn from Yarn Baby. And we will have indie dyers who are bringing or sending fun little mini skeins. And for people who are far away, we may not get some of this up online until after the crawl. But what we have left after the crawl is over, we will be having access for y'all. We might have a small discount while the crawl is going on. Usually we do varying amounts of discounts when you check out. You get to spin the wheel. And then afterwards, we can have some fun things for people we are their local yarn store, even though we're not within driving distance. So
hey, you didn't make it. Here's
a thing with the leftovers and some fun, and I don't know. We're still working on it. We say this every year. We're still working on it. So, is that all of your stuff from this weekend?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like I didn't do anything, and I mean, I made a cake and that...
You did lots of stuff, but maybe it wasn't show-offable on the show type of
not,
stuff.
Yeah.
So, but, that happens.
I ripped dresses out, so, it's just pieces at home that I will probably be working on tonight. But it's part of a process.
Yes. So, okay. This is still a little damp, but I really wanted to bring it in and show it off and see if it fits. And so... I brought it in anyway. It wasn't, what was the last one I did? Was the no frills sweater maybe? Mm-hmm. And that one was so damp I had to leave it. This one I may not wear it all day. I might take it off and let it air dry a little bit more. But I started yesterday. So I soaked it in the morning and after lunch I put it in the washing machine spinner and then laid it out and flipped it over at bedtime and then flipped it back over when I got up in the morning. Still a little damp, but my Avena, you might already be able to tell, it's draping a little differently because I did block it. I was concerned about where it had been sitting on stitch holders for a while. There was a lump, and at the bottom, that the ribbing was kind of a little puckery. So, again, it's not... Don't try this at home. I would let it completely dry if I didn't want to show it off to y'all today. I can feel it's a little damp, but it's already settled. It was puckery when I laid it out. Speaking of superwash that grows, right? Oh, I can feel it's still damp. But speaking of superwash that kind of grows, when I laid it out to the measurements it was before I blocked it, and I can already see that the sleeves are longer, but I'm okay with that because I push them up all the time anyway. I laid it out to where I wanted the measurements to be. I knew it was going to get a little longer this way, and it was roughly on the blocking pads, but that shrunk up overnight, some of it. It's still longer, but you can see that the line I had here is better.
Oh yeah,
it's not 100%, but it's better.
It's
right?
settled. It's settled really
a lot.
Nice.
I'm probably not going to wear it all day because it could grow being damp under its own weight just a hair. The patterning up here is lying a little bit flatter The transition, it's not perfect, but the transition from the pattern work to the rest of the sweater is better. The stitches have settled, and I like how the ribbing is hanging at the bottom. So it's still going to be a little puckery in the back because I don't have girls on my backside, but that's why I may just lay it out somewhere to dry today, even though I don't have blocking pads out. I didn't stretch it or pin it. I laid it out and I marked with pins the edges of where, when I flipped it over, I wanted it to settle to. It wanted to be a lot longer. Like, this was 14.5 inches from underarm down here before I blocked it. And when I laid it out damp, it wanted to be like 15 or 16 inches, and I kind of shoved it back up a little bit. It's definitely longer because it came like right to here before I blocked it. So my sleeves did get longer. But I tend to push my sleeves up anyway. I'm not going to keep it like that too long today because I don't want it to stretch out sitting damp on my arms.
I like how it lengthened. And I mean, it could pull up just a little bit in the drying and, you know. Mm-hmm. But I like how that turned out because it minimized your stitch shoulders. It flattened all of your color work back out. Mm-hmm. It just looks really nice.
It's not as squishy as before I blocked it, but the drape I think is really nice. It almost conforms, and I can see little pieces of me more than I might want to. But I really do like. I feel like it is falling better and looking more like a finished piece than it had. A almost more of a hand knit, like a chunky country quality to it before I blocked it. So. This is I kind of wanted to show off the evidence of what happens when you block. And again, once this fully dries out, I can feel it is still damp. Not soaking wet, but still damp against me as I put it on. It may change a little bit as it finishes drying. But I definitely wanted to show that off for y'all. The benefits of blocking. Even superwash, which can attempt to grow. Like, the neckline might get a little bigger. But I like how it's sitting. Like, when I laid it out, I was a little worried because it did this, like, collar, and then it looked like there were, like, shoulder pads in it when I laid it out to block. But I like that. That means it's going to fall a little longer on my arms than I was expecting because I don't have shoulder pads to pull it up. But I still like how it's falling around my shoulders and stuff. I still think this looks really nice.
I like it. I like it.
And again, when I laid it out, this part here still was a little bunched up, but as it dried, it settled. That's the thing. The settling that happens with blocking is not always going to fix everything. Like, if you have, there are probably spots in here where I noticed where my stitches like were wider. Something funky happened while I was knitting. Blocking doesn't always fix that, but it can overall help your stitches settle and look a little calmer.
Yeah, so. Like, I can still tell, like, right here where your stitches were on stitch holders.
Well, and some of that's the gauge, and some of that is just where it's shifted from one skein of yarn to the other, or there's a white stripe there, kind of. Yeah.
But, like, if I was just, I only know it's there because, you know, I sat with you last week and looked right there at your, but, like, if you just glance at it, it's gone because it flattened everything out.
Yeah. And it'll change the feel of your yarn half the time when you block. But usually that's a good thing. Sometimes you might be like, oh, but it was so squishy and bunchy before and I really like that. No, for the future, you may not want to block things in the future if you don't like how it feels afterwards. But I like the drape of superwash, at least the fiber spates, after being blocked. And it totally falls differently, but I also feel like it's not going to pull up and show off, you know, my shirt underneath as much, that kind of thing. I like that I got a little more length out of it, and, you know, it's not showing off my figure, but I don't necessarily want it to show off my figure down there, because as we get older, sometimes we don't want to do that. So, so that's this guy, and I'm actually going to take him off so that he can dry a little bit, not on me, because I have another sweater I want to test that is nowhere near as finished as this one. But since I got this one done, And I'll put that right there. Since I got this one done, I started working on my flax for a hot minute that I'm making my beginning sweater. That I worked on a bunch of things in little chunks this weekend. So, if this is a long barber cord, I got to sleeve separation. The Flax by Tin Can Knits is a great, super basic raglan pullover. It's wonderful if people want to do it like a first sweater without short row shaping. There's optional short row shaping for raising up the back, but you don't have to if you just want to get some basic skills in. It's got a garter panel on the sleeves, which some people go poo-poo that because they're looking for something. They have in their head what they want for their first sweater. You can skip that, but you have to be prepared to how to understand the directions to skip that. I'm including it on mine. I'm making mine out of Encore, which is a super basic yarn we have in the shop. Very cost effective. This whole sweater should be under $70, even though it might take like 8 skeins of yarn to do. It's got acrylic in it. It's acrylic and wool, but it's not as bad as it sounds. They're doing great things with acrylic. It's robust, but it's not like Red Heart in terms of how it feels.
It is completely machine washable and machine dryable. So if it gets chucked in the dryer, it's not going to kill the sweater.
Yeah. So it's, I think it's great for if you're just testing it out. Like, it will feel completely different against you than this type of sweater will. But I figured it's time we had a sample in the shop for some cost-effective yarn, for some options, for if people who want to do that. So I've gotten to sleeve separation. I've knit a couple more rows. I'm going to test, because at sleeve separation, it was like, the one thing about the flax is it has a shorter version, like if you want to make it cropped, and a longer version if you want to make normal length, which I do, and it had different lengths that you want the yoke to go to for that too. And I was like, So when I got to the right number of stitches, I wasn't quite as long as the long version said I should be at, but I lately have been on this whole, I don't have time for this, I have too many things going on kick. So Shocker. I went ahead and separated the sleeves on camera on Instagram for y'all, on my barber cords, and now I'm putting my sleeves on, or my torso. Talking and doing things at the same time doesn't work well for me. I'm putting the torso on a longer barber cord so that I can try it on. I've really only done about 3 or 4 rows in sleeve separation, so the underarm stitches that I cast on may stretch funny as compared to the whole thing, but I'd like to test with you all. I have not tried this yet to see if it's going to be too tight or not. So I will say with all these sweaters that I'm trying on right now, whoops, and there my barber cord came unattached. That happens sometimes if I pull too hard. And what I do when that happens is I get my needle back into the drop stitches to catch up to the barber cord, and then I stick on the barber cord again. I don't think I stuck my barber cord on very tightly. But I tested my gauge with both of these sweaters to make sure that my stitch count was right, so that hopefully following the directions things will fit right. I have an example in a second of my Pressed Flowers cowl that I didn't test my gauge on, because who needs to test gauge? It's a cowl. And
turns out
it's a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be. But it's my own fault because I didn't test it. So, okay. So this, I had tested my gauge. I was pretty sure I have it on gauge. Let me try. So again, it's tiny, and my needles are on the floor. I'm not actually going to wear it around like this, but I'd like to test and see how my sleeve separation went. I don't think it's going to need to be pulled down in the back because it's...
No.
Yeah, I think that's okay. It's it's tight under there, but I don't think I'm going to be uncomfortable in it. I made the 40, I'm making like the 47-inch bust size, so there's not a lot of, and I can spread this out on my barber cord. There is not a lot of what we call positive ease in there, but but I think that's going to fit. With acrylic, you can maybe block it a little bigger. It's not going to shift as much as a wool would. So it's called Raspberry Swirl or something like that. I'm on my second skein of it. This is going to be a nice form-fitting sweater, I think. So not too tight. It's not super loose, but here's the thing with picking a sweater size is you get to decide how much positive or negative, which is really form-fitting, how much positive ease you want, rather than going with, well, like, I like sweaters that instead of saying for this bust size, make this size, they say, well, here's the finished bust size. And you have to do your own calculations to figure that out. So I have been on a pink kick lately. I don't know why. Maybe making up for my childhood when I really wasn't into pink. Thank you for
You're welcome.
Wanting to help, but I just rip it off.
You're fine.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be okay. And let's see, my wrist ruler is gonna be too short to kind of measure this, but that's what it looks like off the needles. That's how wide it is. And that was just going around the largest chunk of me. Like as it gets further down, it's gonna drape nicer because it's not stretched over the widest part of me. So this will probably be my mindless knitting for Sunday's virtual sit and stitch, which will be on Facebook, Facebook Live and Zoom.
Yes.
Get in with the shop phone number from 1 to 5 p.m. on Sunday.
Shop phone number 828-877-3550.
That wasn't quite in the rhythm that we usually bring it up in, so sorry about that. 1 to 5 Eastern U.S. time. That's this Sunday, April 23rd. So I'll have a lot of mindless knitting I can do there now that I've gotten the mindless knitting on this one done. The few other things I wanted to show off to you, though. So this is my cowl. Got all these needles hanging out here. That I did... I followed the instructions. I did 6 inches of dots of plain stitch at the bottom. And then I followed the pattern as it went. And it said, at this point, you should be this long. At this point, you should be that long. I was like, yeah, I just kept going. And I followed the pattern for how much I should do at the top. And then this is the medium size. And when I laid it out this morning, I'm like, how long is this supposed to be? It's supposed to be 42 inches long. And I'm like, and I haven't blocked it, so it curls a lot in the center. It still may curl quite a bit after blocking too, but blocking I can maybe make it the edge a little uniform, even if it curls in. And and I was like, because when I sew this together, now the only step left is to sew it together like this. And I'm like, that's the medium? Wow. But I read that it should be 42 inches long. And remember, it was telling me how long it should be as I went, and I didn't bother to measure. I just blew through it all. And I measured this. I've also stretched it a few times when I was laying it out and measuring it. But pre-stretching especially, when I measured this with my wrist ruler, which is 17 inches long, and then I marked where the 17 inches and I measured again. It's like 30 inches long. It's supposed to be 42. And I went, And then I measured how wide it is, and it's 9 inches wide. And according to the pattern writer, it's supposed to be like 11. And I went, oh, maybe I should have tested my gauge before I did this whole thing. Like when it was down here. And I tested in the plain stitch what my gauge is, and it's much smaller than it's supposed to be. I'm knitting with Patagonia, which is a light DK verging on really a sport weight yarn. They're 2 colors of Patagonia. Like the yarn you choose will affect your gauge. And we say with the ranunculus, like everything on a 10 and it'll be fine. The size you come out with may change depending on the yarn you use. We have found that, but we don't always test our gauge with ranunculus because it's meant to be so big and open.
Also, note that we are 2 of a small or large population, depending on who you hang out and knit and crochet with, that for things that, like, not a sweater, we don't generally gauge swatch because it's not a sweater. And
so if it's too big or too small, it usually doesn't change much. Like a shawl, if it's too small or too big, it's a shawl.
Yeah.
cowl, you do, like, if I made the small size, I could have been in trouble, and then I would have probably just done a whole bunch of plain stitch at the end when I figured out it wasn't going to fit around my neck. But yeah, there's quite a few of us that, like, I've done the whole, it's a hat, it'll be fine, but I've had people whose hats have come out way too big or way too small when they don't test their gauge. For a sweater, I'm going to test my gauge because that's a lot of work. I put in work on this, but not quite as much. It'll still work. It will be a functional cowl. When I block it, it may relax a little bit, but it's still not going to be the size promised. And that is not the pattern writer's fault. That is totally on me because I didn't test my gauge. So, I'll see how aggressively I can block this. Like, she has you sew it together and then block it. And I've seen some of our knitters who have blocked it and then sewn it together. I haven't decided which I'm going to do. But I have a class on Saturday. It's the second class for the hat or the cowl. And I get to talk to them about this, about, like, I didn't test my gauge. So if I know I have one participant in the class who's doing the cowl, and we can discuss options for her if she's making the small size and it doesn't fit.
Yep.
It could be that she's just going to do more pattern repeats or plain stitch or something else. I don't recommend starting over unless it really, really, really bugs you. But on that note, for how much yarn I had left, that's the one thing. The Patagonia is a thin DK. I did it on a size 6 needle. I'm imagining I might have had to go up to an 8 to get gauge. I have all of this stuff left. I have probably half a skein of each left. It has 382 yards on it. With my gauge, I probably could have done the long size, but it might have come out the medium size length with my gauge. So, I had room. I have room to try this with the colors reversed. The question is, with everything I have going on, am I actually going to do that? Probably not. There are so many other things I want to dive into. I want to make progress on my cardigan, all these things. So we have to go soon, but let's see what else. I'm working on a shawl called the Dodge Shawl that's been on my needles for forever. And I'm trying to get, there's a little bit of texture here, but then there's lace at the end, and I'm trying so hard to get to where the lace starts, and it's taking forever because I have so many things on needles. Now that the Avena's done, I'm trying to, do some other stuff. I have a question for y'all. Once I show off, I don't have much more done on this. I will finish this up soon, though. The shawl. I'm not going to splay it out because it looks like I'm in the middle of a row and I'm about to... I filmed some shawl tips and tricks yesterday, and it looks like I'm about to rip this off the needles by accident, so I need to not do that. I may try to finish it up this week. The rows are getting super, super long. Speaking of long rows, but not as long as... the shawl at this point, I'm working on my cardigan, and I'm finally getting to where the flowers are going to start getting bright, and I think that's going to be so much fun. But I would really love to make enough progress on this. The next video I'm making on this may not happen for a few weeks, but I'd like to talk about doing pressed flowers in the round, and that means the sleeves on this, or making a new swatch to show off. I might have to make a new swatch, but I need to start diving into samples for local yarn store day, so life is going to get crazy. So this, once I sew it together, may be all that happens to this. My last question for y'all, and I got to grab my basket, which I think is over there, is about the chevron baby blanket I'm making.
Ooh.
I have a decision to make.
Ooh.
So let me grab it real fast. I went back to knitting on this guy a little bit too.
I did notice that.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, ooh.
So my chevron baby blanket that I'm making with Bud. Yeah, just let him go. I'll pick him up in a second. I'm doing the version that calls for 5 contrast colors in these stripies. And the bud is thicker than the worsted weight the pattern calls for, so I'm on 10 needles instead of size 8s. And I have just started my third skein, I was hoping it might only take 3 skeins of my contrast. Third skein of this. So that means my 2 skeins got me through about 5 thick stripes, because the small stripe at the end is compensated for starting with this guy. So about 2.5 stripes per this, right? I'm on my second stripe of green. If I continue with the colors I picked out, I still need to do 2 stripes with this and 2 stripes with this. And it's already pretty big. So can I lay out my options, and then you tell me what you're thinking. Yeah. Okay. Option A is I keep going and I do both of these colors, which I love. I am going to need a 4th skein of the gray, and it's going to be a different dye lot, which may show, may not. That's option 1. Option 2 is I back off and either I could finish with only 3 colors. I could throw in only one of these and still potentially be playing yarn chicken. It might make it through one more contrast color. And at that point, I'm torn which one to do. So I have like 3 options, with option 2 has 2 options. So it's finish with all the colors, and I definitely need another skein of the gray. So that will be 9 skeins altogether of bud. Option 2 is try for only 4, so shift the pattern a little bit, which I've already done because I'm on different needles, right? And then option 2, I have to pick which one am I going to do. And I could still run out of yarn. It still might not work. Or option 3 is just finish it with another stripe of this and the end. You were ready to weigh in before I gave options. Where was your mind going?
So looking at the size of this blanket right now, each stripe section looks to be about a foot.
Okay.
I
haven't measured, but okay.
Here.
Doesn't matter.
Anyway,
Keep
doesn't
going.
matter.
We have to open the shop soon.
If you finish the green,
yeah,
and do your half stripe after your last row of green, I think it's the perfect size for a baby blanket, stroller blanket, snuggly, whatever. If you keep going, it doesn't seem wide enough for another 2 feet of height. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it would just be a much longer rectangle.
Yes.
A much longer rectangle, it's true. It hasn't been blocked, which could add some width to it, but yeah. So
I think that A, because of time, B, because you'd have a finished shop sample that you could achieve quickly. I know that you love those.
I'm so sad I won't use these colors, but that could be the option. If anyone else feels differently, let me know.
I know that you love those colors, but you can also advise people that, hey, this is what 3 balls of gray and then a ball of each of the colors got you. And if people want to continue
it's
bigger.
Only 6 skeins of yarn.
6 skeins of yarn, yeah.
Yeah.
So that they have instead of, hey,
point.
I did 9, and people are like, but I don't want to do 9.
Yeah. Most people don't want to buy 9 unless it's a super fancy heirloom Yeah. All right. If anyone feels differently or agrees with Liz, let us know in the comments. So we have virtual sit and stitch tonight from 7 to 9 p.m. on Zoom. You can get in with a shop phone number.
828-877-3550.
That is the normal routine. We usually bring up the phone number. Sorry, someone else just walked. Whenever someone walks by outside, I'm like, but it's fine. We will see you tomorrow for VSC. You still have about 24 hours to save on the Saxony if you wanted to get some squishy yumminess. That has a lot of cashmere in it. That's because I chose to block my sweater. I did not block my shawl with the Saxony, but that might be next weekend. We'll see. Anyway, please like, subscribe, ding the bell, right?
All the fun stuff.
To get alerts, comment, all that kind of stuff. If you'd like to monetarily support the work we do, right now the best option is patreon.com/sundragon, or buy some yarn from us. So, or notions or something like that. Anyway, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.